Hello, how's everybody doing? Thank you all so much for joining us today. This is another episode of the Bean Paths Tech Office Hours featured presentation. And boy, do we have something big in store for you today. I'm sure you all have been hearing about Meta, the Metaverse, and all this Facebook business in the news. Well, we have the source right here in front of us today. And I'm really excited. And so before we get into that, again, I'm Dr. Nashley. I'm the founder of the Bean Path. I want to kind of introduce who I have right here with the Bean Path team and a member of the Reality Labs team from the Meta, aka Facebook company. And so I think give a little bit of background before we jump into those intros. Ivan Walker, as you see here on the screen, and we actually work at Amazon, where we met a guy named Dan Young. He's a great guy. He actually happens to be the husband of the young lady you see here today, Heidi Young, and they are a force, let me tell you that. Heidi, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Can you hear me okay, Nash?
Yes, I can. And we appreciate you for being here. As you all know, Ivan and I, we were part of a startup company that ended up getting acquired by Amazon. Dan was extremely helpful in helping us get that transition. And he introduced us to Heidi. She'll introduce herself in a minute, but we thought this would be great content and exposure for the people in our community, and you'll see why in just a minute. So I'll go ahead and jump into the intros. Next slide. All right, so I have two BeanPath members here today. I'm very proud to have on board. Next slide. So I think you all already know who I am, kind of also CEO of the Jackson Tech District. You definitely check that out if you haven't heard about it. I'm an AI tech evangelist at Amazon and a co-founder of Kit Labs in Atlanta. And so hopefully those people are out there watching today. Also, I'm an AI fairness expert. I'm a musician. I play a few instruments, one extremely well, much better, shall I say, than the others is the piano. I'm a gardener. I'm a lover of karaoke. That's probably an understatement. And I'm a Jeeper. So all the Jeepers out there, there you go. That's the Jeep wave, y'all. Some of y'all don't know what I'm talking about, but yes. All right, I'll hand it over now to Dr. Amber.
Hey everybody, I'm Dr. Amber. This is probably my fifth debut on the Instagram and the internets. So you see me a lot in the reels for the Bean Path. I'm Dr. Amber. I'm the interim COO for the Bean Path. I'm also the COO for the Jackson Tech District and the owner of the Cadult Life. And so, you've seen a lot. Well, I guess y'all have actually seen a lot of me behind the scenes, but I'm a believer, I'm a wife, I'm a Cadult. If you don't know what that is, go and follow the Cadult Life. I'm an athlete. I love to create animations. I'm also an entrepreneur and a two-time HBCU grad. So I'm really excited to be here. I'm excited to hear about the engineers at Facebook, and I'm going to hand it off to our CTO, Mr. Ivan Walker.
Hi, everybody. Ivan Walker. So I'm the Chief Technology Officer here at the Bean Path, and my day job is I'm a software development manager at Amazon Web Services, helping startups learn about the cloud. Also, I am a decent cook, but some people say I'm a grill master. Still working on those skills. I'm the baby brother to 13 older siblings. I have 9 older brothers and 4 older sisters, and I'm an uncle to 22 nieces and nephews. I think that count is accurate, but if any of my family is watching, please update me. And I am also a great/grand uncle to 2. I get that title mixed up. Took me a while because I was like, if I'm the grandparent's sibling, then I should be the grand uncle. I like that. And I'm also an avid tennis player where I also played collegiate at Jackson State University, where I'm also a 2-time HBCU graduate. And so I'm happy to be here. Dr. Cephas told you about our connection to Heidi. And so I'm just going to hand it over to her and let her tell you a little bit about her awesomeness.
All right. Everybody can hear me okay, hopefully. Managing a lot this morning, trying to get this off the ground. But hey, everybody, we are thrilled to be here with you today. I just want to do a big shout out to all of our partners at BeanPath, particularly Nash, Amber, and Ivan, and Whitney, who have been behind the scenes working with us to get this whole event off the ground. We should have a bunch of fun today, but I figured I'd intro myself as well, since Ivan, Amber, and Nash took the time to do so. So my name's Heidi Young. I'm a director of the assistant at Reality Labs at Meta. So we're going to get into that and what all of that means. I am a mom to two beautiful daughters, 9 and 11, Maya and Ava. I'm also a wife to that awesome gentleman that Nash was talking about earlier, Dan Young. We'll talk about that. I'm an amateur runner, meaning that I like to join in races, but I'm not actually very competitive. I love baking cookies with my kids. It's one of my favorite things to do on the weekends. And then I am a self-proclaimed math nerd. I love everything math related. I've been obsessed since I was about 5. So without further ado, I think we're just going to get going. I did want to do a quick call to action before we get started with all the fun. On the screen, you should see a QR code. If you just do a quick scan of that, you can be eligible for a giveaway, and we'll contact the winners later on. So there'll be a chance to get that QR code later on. I just wanted to give everybody a chance that's online to go ahead and check in with that QR code. All right. So you guys are going to get a lot of fun today. We're going to talk to you about Reality Labs within Meta. We've got a great panel of speakers for you. These are my esteemed colleagues who I work with on a daily basis. We have Conthi, Marcelo, Richard, and Lisa that are going to be walking us through various parts of Reality Labs and sharing a whole bunch of really cool materials before we switch over to a Q&A panel, so you can actually hear those folks talk a little bit more about themselves. So I just wanted to give a quick intro. In 2016, I was actually in the startup world myself, and I was at a tiny little startup, and I got connected. My husband was working at Amazon. He was working in the retail division, and he ended up meeting this really cool company in Atlanta called PartPick. Long series of events, but he just kept traveling down to Atlanta and meeting with this crew of people. And every time he would come home just with this like huge smile on his face, and he would talk about what an amazing crew of people this was. Anyway, the long story short, they ended up getting acquired into Amazon, and Nashley and Ivan, who you just saw there, they were part of the PartPick team. I ended up following Nashley and a few others on LinkedIn and other media sites, just because when Dan says that people are actually a pretty cool crew, I listen. And then a couple of years ago, an article came out about some work that Nashley was doing down in the Mississippi area with you all in the BeanPath. I'm a huge fan. I just felt kind of spiritually connected to this effort. I just knew that we were totally aligned. At that point, the company that I was at had gotten acquired into Facebook in 2017. And so I feel like we kind of were on this parallel path journey together. And so I just reached out. I kind of cold reached out and said, hey, I'm Dan's wife. And the rest is history. I started sharing my love of building kind of diverse communities in tech. And Nashley and I just kind of hit it off and said, we should do a partnership. So here we are. This is our kind of inaugural debut together, partnering with some of the efforts she's doing down in the South, and then obviously the work we're doing here at Reality Labs. So I wanted to share with you guys a little bit about what Reality Labs was. We work for the umbrella company now called Meta. If you've seen anything in the news lately, you may or may not have heard that the company rebranded recently from Facebook into Meta. This does not mean that Facebook, that app that you have on your phone, is going away. In fact, quite the opposite. The Facebook app is an incredibly popular app. It's used all over the world today, but it's just one of many of the products that we have. Meta's mission to date has been to give people the power to build community and bring the world closer together. So we're all about connecting you with your communities, your friends, your family, your colleagues, in really, really deep, impactful ways. But connection is kind of evolving, right? As we bring in all of these new technology mediums, it's making these connections deeper, richer, more robust. We need to evolve with it. And so the metaverse is the next, we have something called the metaverse that we've been talking about recently. We believe that the metaverse is the next evolution of that social connection. So the company's vision now is to bring the metaverse to life. And so we're changing the name to kind of reflect our commitment to that future. So many of you may know Meta's different products: Facebook, Instagram, Facebook Messenger, or WhatsApp. Hopefully you all are using some of those products today. But a lot of you may not know about this whole other side of Meta called Reality Labs, that is more about like devices and immersive technology. So we build products like Oculus. I wanted to show you guys, that's an Oculus. This is a VR device or a virtual reality device. We'll be seeing that a little bit later. We build products called like Portal, which is a real-time in-home calling device. Kanti's going to talk to you a little bit about that. And then we also build products like Ray-Ban Stories, which are these pretty cool glasses that I'm wearing here. And I can do hands-free capture. I can listen with audio in an open air microphone on the stem there. And so we're building all of these experiences to really bring you closer and have a connection in your kind of day-to-day lives with the people in your communities. So our mission within Reality Labs is to build tools that help people feel connected anytime, anywhere. So if I'm halfway across the world someday, I may want to put this on and still communicate with my family members at home, and they may look and feel and act and react in the same ways that they would if they were sitting right in front of me in the room in front of me. So with all of that being said, we actually have a video to kind of kick off our panel this morning, and I wanted to kind of get us going here.
We always ask, where is the future going to take us? But the real question is, where are we going to take the future?
There are no closed doors, no walls.
Holy mackerel, this is unbelievable.
We may have brain surgeons in Edinburgh operating on patients in New Zealand.
You'll send emotions, feelings, memories.
Imagine a world where we are represented the way we want to be.
You know, in the future, it just feels like long distance won't be so distant.
There's a big frontier. Where do you want to go?
And we're just getting started.
Appreciate the past, utilize the present, but don't be afraid to create the future.
All right, so hopefully that got everybody really excited. At the end there, you saw that we're all building this future together. We really do believe that the products that we're building are going to be better by our creator community as well. So you'll be hearing about that a little bit later. Okay, so we can slide into some of the fun. I wanted to hand the microphone over to Kanti. Kanti, you want to kick off?
Yes, thank you, Heidi. Hey, everyone, it's great to be here today. I'm Kanti Shantikumar. I am a product management lead on Portal at Meta. Portal, as Heidi mentioned, in its basic form is a video calling device. And I have been at Facebook now for just over a year. I've been in product management, though, for more than a decade. I started my career in software engineering in India, came to the US for business school. Have more than a decade of experience in product management. I am also, as is shown here, a mom of 2 kids, been married for over 10 years. I'm an amateur cuber. I really enjoy it. My timing is not great, but I enjoy it. I love chocolate chip cookies. So Heidi, you and I could be great friends. I have cookies every day, I think since 2 decades now, every day without a break. And I love going on weekend hikes with my families. So with that, let's start out by talking a little bit about Portal. Portal, as I mentioned earlier, in its simplest form, is a video calling device, which enables you to feel there, even if you can't be there. So let's start by playing a video which kind of communicates the whole magic of Portal.
This is Portal, a better way to stay in touch. Like this. And stay in frame, like that. For working from home, and moving from room to room. Easy. You can watch together, have a laugh together. Nice one. Or fill the room with music. See your favorite faces. Hear your favorite stories. And get the whole gang together. Hey, Grandma. It's a simple way to feel close with those you love.
Next. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. So as you saw there, Portal enables you to be able to walk around a room hands-free, and you have the AI smart camera pan and zoom around the people who are in the room. So what's magical about that is I could be cooking dinner with my family and my parents could be on the phone, but with a phone, I have to hold it in my hand. But with Portal, I can move around the entire space and still be connected. And this is magical. It's changed the life of the connection between my kids and my parents. Because previously I would force them to talk to your grandma on the phone and they would never feel it. But now they could be running around the room. They could be playing with their toys. My parents could be watching them. At any point they want, they can pick up and show the Lego that they've just created. And it creates this whole form of immersive presence, which is what is truly magical about Portal. And we bring this to life with, as I mentioned, the AI smart camera. We enable smart sound. We partner with Heidi's team to enable assistance. So you can start a call, end a call, all through just voice. And there's a lot of entertainment capabilities that are also bundled in. But the core of it is a lot of the relevance personalization capabilities to truly drive that connection among families. Next slide. Beyond family connection, we also enable Portal as a video calling device to be used for work. Our goal is, as a remote worker, you find true value in Portal as almost being a companion device to your primary productivity device, which might be a laptop. But then you use your Portal for all of your meetings. So we've got Zoom, WebEx, a lot of these third-party integrations with VC providers. So you're able to take your meetings and at the same time be able to effectively multitask. Right now, I'm on a Portal. Now, one of the key concepts that are really critical for us is this whole concept of connection through content. And as the metaverse is evolving, and as we're thinking of building a bridge to the metaverse, this concept becomes really critical because there are these capabilities that we're building which enable people to experience things together. So an example of that is watching movies together. So we're building capabilities which syncs content on two sides of a call. So you can watch a movie together and you feel like you're in the same space. You can listen to music together. You can play games together. You could feel like you're in an actual movie or a story with our product called Storytime, where we have augmented reality experiences, which makes it feel like you're in the story rather than just reading a story out loud. And these are just the earliest manifestations of the building blocks which are going to form the metaverse. Going into next year, we're going to be investing heavily in capabilities like avatars and spaces and co-experiences, furthering that to bring the vision of the metaverse to life. So if you're interested, we need people across hardware, software, platform, all of this across product management and engineering to bring this dream dream into a reality. So yes, if you're interested in joining us in this journey, please let us know. I will now pass it on to Marcelo.
Thank you, Conti. Everyone hear me okay? Great. First, I want to thank BeamPath. Really excited to be here and to get to know the group a little bit better and to talk a little bit about the wonderful and exciting things that we work on. I really enjoy the work we do here. It's pretty exciting, and I'm looking forward to sharing a little bit of it with you in just a moment. But before that, a little bit about myself. Father of 3 teenagers, 15, 17, 19, 2 girls and 1 boy. Been married for 21 years, happily married for 21 years. I live around the San Francisco Bay Area, and on the weekends and whenever I have time, I love to go hiking in the hills around here. And when I don't do that, I wake up a little bit extra early to go jump rope, get some exercise, and I love my little dog named Lola. I really do. All right, well, let's get into it. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the core capabilities around assistant and what we call machine perception technologies. But before I do that, you see the term XR. XR, we throw around terms like mixed reality, virtual reality, augmented reality. There's so many different kinds of realities. XR is just a shorthand, like a shortcut way to refer to all of those kinds of realities. And I'll get a little bit into what each of those mean in a moment. But let me talk a little bit about these capabilities, and then in a moment I'll show you them in action. Assistant, Conti talked a little bit about this. Assistant is the ability to use your voice and have an assistant help you take care of things in the application, in the experience, in your life. Insight is a technology that blends virtual and real worlds together. And again, you'll get a sense for what this looks like in a moment. Virtual widgets and objects that look like they're blended perfectly into your natural environment. People. When I talk about people, we talk about things like holograms and avatars, the way you're digitizing yourself and representing yourself in these XR experiences. And then interactions, being able to literally reach out with your hands and grab a virtual object and hold it in your hand and move it around. So these are the 4 core capabilities that we develop in the XR team to make applications, products, and experiences possible. Let's move to the next slide because it gets really interesting here. By the way, you see a screen here or an experience here. This is all possible when you put on this virtual reality headset. I don't know if you can see me holding it, but you put this on, and this is the kind of thing that you can see. Let me explain what you're looking at. You're looking at a digital or virtual pet named Oppie. We gave him a name, Oppie. And you'll see Oppie runs around. Of course, Oppie doesn't exist in the real world, but in the virtual world, Oppie does exist. And notice how Oppie knows where the tables are and where the chairs are and is smart enough not to run into it. There's a lot of technology that goes into making this possible. And notice the little blue ball that Oppie is chasing and how it bounces. Oops, we moved a little bit. There we go. And the little blue ball that bounces around. So there's a lot of technology that I talked about in the previous slide that goes into making these kinds of experiences possible. Let's go to the next slide. And this is, well, it's a virtual chess game with somebody who is literally sitting right next to you watching, and then somebody who's far away and is representing themselves as an avatar. I talked about avatars a moment ago. And this is an example of how an avatar gets used. That person on the other side of the table might be 1,000 miles away, but it feels like they're right in front of you, right? And then the chessboard, you'll see the pieces there. You can actually reach out, and I mentioned this a little while ago, and grab one of those pieces and move it on the chessboard, right? So hopefully you get a sense for how all of these technologies come together to make these kinds of XR experiences possible. There's a lot more I could say, and hopefully we have a chance in the future to talk more about this, but as Conti said, we need a lot of help to make these things possible, and we're looking for folks like you to make these things come true. All right, I'll pass it on to, who's next here? Is it, all right, Richard.
5 minutes. Hey, everybody. Sorry, it's a timer for my talk. Hello, everybody. Glad to be here. Excited to talk about this. So my name is Richard Duck. I am a content launch manager here at Oculus. And just to let you know, I'm a retro game collector, music enthusiast. You can check back there, and collector. I'm a foodie, and I'm always looking for recommendations. So after this, if you're like, hey, Richard, I have this place you need to check out next time you're in this part of town, absolutely reach out to me. Or if you have any good record stores you want me to check out. So always a big fan of that. So we're talking about XR, VR, MR, all kinds of things, right? What I want to do is focus on VR because that's mostly what I work in. So I have a quick little video here to show you like how, we have programs to get you set up and get started. And after this video is done, I'll talk a little more about it.
What's happening, VR heads?
Welcome to Launchpad. It's one of the most special programs that I think we've done at Oculus. I am incredibly excited to kick off this year's digital program. It's super fun.
We've got a packed schedule full of great content.
With presentations from Oculus and VR industry experts sharing their top development tips and their experiences with VR to lay out some of the best practices to consider when first creating your applications.
Basically just cover everything that you need to get started. That's a gold mine worth of information right there.
It's our responsibility to explore this new frontier of virtual worlds and make sure we are as inclusive as possible while doing so.
To support and enable diverse voices in VR.
VR gives people the power of empathy.
We're all different. Lean into your differences. Celebrate them.
It's very important to have a diverse group of individuals represent our platform.
We're trying to diversify the space.
Let's do that. That rocks. Like, how can we bring this to VR?
One thing that does bring us all together through Launchpad is everyone's passion for VR.
When you get to Launchpad, it's really easy to connect with people who are already on board with loving VR.
You got to take risks or do things that you actually really wanted to try with the project.
There's still so much exploring left to do. Keep on building, keep on growing, make the best VR app you possibly can.
Super excited to see what you all can create.
I'm really excited to see what emotional experiences you'll create for our audiences. Welcome to Launchpad.
Awesome. So one reason I actually highlighted Oculus Launchpad is you've seen some of the future already and what's happening right now. And you're just like, well, where do I get started? What do I do? Oculus is here to help you out. And so Oculus Launchpad is one of those platforms and like programs that we actually have to help you get started to figure out what you can do next. Because making experiences takes a lot of work, takes a lot of time, and you're also creating this in a new space. And think about kind of what you can do and what kind of new things you can do and what kind of applications you can make, experiences, games. And that's where the power of VR really shines. You have a power to create something new and super exciting. And with that, what you can also take a look at is this as well. Like, there's a lot to consider when you're actually working on making a game. And I say it could be an experience. It could be anything really. And so what you want to do is kind of just start with something. If you're just like, okay, I saw some really cool things, what I want to do, jump into Unity, jump into Unreal, jump to your favorite game engine of choice, start making something, and then you'll get something created. It could just be a cube in a room. It could be you just moving a ball around in space. It could be really anything you want to do. Just make something and then start testing it. And so one thing I recommend, especially in virtual reality, is testing it because you're creating a new reality right now. So that means that if you're going to let people try it, can somebody reach that object that you created because they're too short? Or maybe there's some games I can't play where I'm just like, oh no, I'm a little too short for this one, or I'm a little too tall. It's kind of weird. So we got to actually figure out how to make reality work for everybody and be accessible. So yeah, you're going to take time doing QA testing. You're going to take time actually doing things like A/B testing. What's A/B testing, you might ask? Well, it means trying out your experience with different people. Say, hey, I want to actually make a different version of this game with just the cube in the room and a different version of this game with just a ball in the room. see what people say, see if they like it, see if they like it more. Because again, you're creating reality. We're all in reality right now. So it should try to be able to fit for as many people as possible. So you doing testing, you working on trying to make your game as accessible as possible is really going to help with that. And so another thing you want to do as well is just consider what you can always do next. Because again, you're creating these realities for people. You're giving people the ability to do something they maybe can do or can't do, or maybe something they can't explore. Like I love playing golf, for example. And there's some great games out there that allow me to play golf any time of the day. I could just go right now after this and go play a round of golf. That takes a lot of work. I have to get my clubs in the car. I have to go put my dog in the doggy daycare. I have to hang out with friends, figure all this out. But that allows you to actually really just create new realities here and there. And if you want to, take a look at Oculus.com. We have a ton of experiences on there. And I've launched a few of those titles. So if you have any questions about them, you're like, hey, I played this. I want to ask you some more questions about it. Or, hey, how did they do this? Let's talk about it. So with that, my time is up, and I'd like to introduce our next panelist.
What's happening, VR heads?
Oh, here we go. Oh, and there's another slide about Reality Labs research. So just remember that the future is going to be awesome. You're part of that future. And if you're not yet, you will be part of the future. You will actually be creating something. So start today, start tomorrow, but just start. Take the time to actually become part of this future, and whatever you make will be awesome. And I'm excited to see it. So now we have Lisa. I'm excited to hear what Lisa has to talk about because she is a research lead and research scientist manager. So take it away.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here, everyone. So my slides look like they've been mixed up. This was, so if we could go forward a slide. So I'm Lisa Rutherford. I have spent my career as a serial entrepreneur and investor, and came to Facebook about 3 years ago. I now lead one of the research pillars at Reality Labs Research. So if you think about everybody else who's come before us, they've all been working on products, things that come out in the next 1 to 3 years. But the research arm is actually thinking about things that come out in 10 to 15 years. So I am a proud single mom. I've got a 10-year-old who at any moment could come in and interrupt us. So hopefully that won't happen. But if it does, he's great. I personally love any youth sport. I coach baseball, basketball, whatever needs to be done. I'm rabidly competitive, but I'm a very good loser, which I think is a good combo. And I'm genuinely happy. I'm just a happy person. So I really love being here at Meta, and particularly in research, the research lab. If you advance my slide. So I said, so we're doing advanced R&D, so advanced research and development into the areas of technology and science that need to be explored or need to be furthered in some way for the metaverse, augmented reality, virtual reality to actually happen. So these are the different research pillars that we have. And you can see there's a good mix here of everything from graphics, so new ways of rendering information, to audio, what you can hear, how we think about digital humans or avatars, how those are being represented, to things like live maps and sensors. If you advance, I'll give you some examples of some of that cool work. So what we have here is this is really looking at 3D avatars. And you can see that there's a very high level of detail in his face. It looks like a human being, but reality is that it's an avatar. You can see the pores in his skin. You can see the lighting effects as we change the backgrounds. You see the sunlight on the side. And that's the level of realism that we think we're going to need. Secondly, you can see here, this is from our Sausalito lab. These are fabrics. I love this because see how the fabric stretches and then when they let go, it falls. This one is teams that are working on real-time rendering. So how do you make something happen that someone's doing in real life, make it show up in 3D? So this is the recreation of an apartment that Mingfei is in. And as she does things in the apartment, moving cups, you can see that in real time, it's being translated into this virtual world. And so from Mingfei, we'll now go to my friend Yasser. He leads our Codec Avatar Lab. actually, that's not my friend. That's his avatar. Crazy, right? So this group works out of Pittsburgh, and that is his avatar that is talking and moving. And you're about to see a woman named Elaine who's going to walk around him. And so she's viewing his avatar, and you can see how realistic it is. Everything from the way his eyes move left and right to how he's moving his hands, crossing his arms. There's still a long way to go with that research, but it's very, very cool. And then finally here, this is working on new forms of input. So here you see on his wrist, this is a wrist-based device that's reading signals between the brain and the person's muscles called EMG signals. And then he can, just by making these tiny movements, he can actually write or provide input. So it's a silent way of innocuously communicating without having to carry around a keyboard or a laptop. So those are some of the things that we're really excited about doing in terms of the advanced R&D. We also have, if you advance the slide, another group who's near and dear to my heart because they, advance the slide. Here we go. This is about Edmod Labs. So this is a group that does research into different types of the ways we can modernize education using the technologies at Facebook. And what they do is they co-create learning opportunities with historically underrepresented communities to actually create opportunities for learners and give them access to CS. So they've got one group thing called Beats Unlocked, which is so much fun, Engineer for a Week, where you get to hang out with one of our engineers at Facebook and learn what it's like to be an engineer. And then a brand new initiative that I've been helping them with called the Global Historical Archive. So they want to enable people to engage with heritage sites all around the world in virtual reality. And right now we're building out our first team of software engineers. This is a very cool project. So if you have any interest in technical art, doing infrastructure integration work, this team is just getting started. And so we're hiring right now. It's a really cool place to start in terms of getting your on the ground in terms of a new group, and also working in VR and working with all of the Meta properties. And so that's a little bit about the labs. I'll say I'm handing it back, I believe, to Heidi, maybe?
Yes. Can you guys hear me okay? Good. Okay. Thank you, Lisa, Marcelo, Richard, and Kanti. Hopefully everybody on the call today got a good, I would say, bird's eye view of a bunch of the technology that we're working on. And we didn't even get to touch on all of the different kind of immersive experiences that we're talking about. We wanted to put this slide up just in case there's anybody on the call that has any interest on working on any of these technologies or any of the other products that I mentioned earlier under the Meta umbrella. Cecil and Doug, we have their email addresses there. If you want to shoot them an email, they are at the ready to talk to you. And in addition, you can go to the facebookcareers.com website and then you can browse around. In addition, I'll make sure that Nash, Amber, and Ivan all have our information so you can reach out to any of us at any point in time. Don't let the communication medium be the blocker for you. Just wanted to give a quick shout out for that. I'm going to put this slide up one last time in case anybody wants to take part in that giveaway. Make sure to get that QR code in, and then we'll be following up with you after the talk. So at this point, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have all of the panelists kind of come back onto the screen. I'm going to stop sharing now. There we go. Do we have all our panelists? Awesome. Okay, we see all of our panelists here. So hey, folks, this should be fun. Now we're going out of the kind of lecture style here, and we're going to go into some of the Q&A. We have both some Q&A that we thought we brainstormed with the BeanPath folks before we hopped on the call, and then we have some live questions coming in from the audience. So I think we'll probably kick off with some of the pre-floated questions, and then we'll head right into some of the live Q&A. So I have a question. A lot of the people in the audience are likely early in career. And so I want them to hear a little bit about your path to today, panelists. So I want to talk about a little bit about what it took for you to get to where you're at. So does anybody, I think that Lisa and Richard kind of said that they might have a story here, but an odd path to get to where you're at today. Any maybe like serendipitous event or unlikely path that you might be willing to share? Lisa, do you want to kick off with this one?
Yeah, I can kick off. So I grew up in very rural central Pennsylvania, and I was an English major undergrad. So I should not be here in terms of getting from there to where I am today. And when I look back, there are so many moments of just serendipity or a strange moment where that really put my path in a totally different direction. But the one that I think is funny, but also very telling is, so I was working for an investment bank doing marketing type work. And I was thinking about applying to law school. And my husband at the time and one of my bosses there were like, oh, you should be an entrepreneur. You shouldn't be a lawyer. Like, yes, you'd be good at that, but this is what you should do. You are an entrepreneur at heart. And I was like, yeah, but I don't want to go to business school. That sounds crazy and awful. And Doug and I had a bet. And I was like, well, and he was like, well, if you lose the bet, you have to take the GMATs. And I was like, fine. I lost the bet. And so the next week I made my appointment and I went down and I took the GMATs and I got an insanely high score on the GMATs. And I came back and they handed it. That was like the first time I'd ever taken a standardized test where they like print out the score and they hand it to you. And they handed it to me and I looked at it. And Doug had gotten a 97th percentile when he took the GMATs. And I'm looking at my paper and it says 98. And I'm like, holy S. I'm like, that's not right. And the guy who gave it to me, he's like, oh no, you did great. So I go back home and I'm like, look at this. And I remember Doug said, with that score, you can go anywhere in the world. Any school's going to take you. And I was like, even Stanford? And he was like, even Stanford. So I applied to Stanford because I wanted to learn about being an entrepreneur. I always wanted to move to California. We moved out here and it's one of those moments that I look back on. It's just so funny because I would never have done it. But I had two people who knew me so well, Rod Langenhagen, if you're ever watching this, and then Doug, that they knew me and just saw something in me. And so I think that for me, it's really, a testament to being able to have mentors opening yourself up enough that people can truly see you and truly understand you, because sometimes you don't see the magic in yourself until someone else does. And I'm so grateful to this day that they did.
I love that story. And it is a testament to you have these people in your life that do believe in you and you don't want to let them down. And then in this case, good for you, Lisa. You definitely didn't. Richard, I'm curious, do you have an unlikely path story you want to share?
Oh yeah. I mean, it kind of starts with the original story that you hear about, like starting in consumer service and work your way up. And it actually did happen. It's really rare that it happens, but it did happen. I went from being a video game fan, which I still am, of course, but kind of just getting into consumer service and then taking opportunities and networking over time, and then getting into kind of like really indie dev relations, and then making it here. And that's kind of shortening the story by a lot. But a lot of it really was just taking the time to get to know the community, because as you're working and building these spaces, and it could be anything like a traditional video game to something in VR, connecting with others is really going to be key, because you never know when you're presenting your game to somebody who is the designer or maybe the art person or the music person of your favorite franchise of all time. They could walk by and be like, it's kind of interesting. I wonder what they're doing. We should make sure we talk to that person. And those like just moments that happen are so important. And that's what actually happened, I would say, is that like I spent a lot of time saying, okay, I really love video games, but I actually don't know how video games are really made. So I started making games. I mean, actually making games for a while, like not very good games, but making games. So I understood how games are made. I never actually really showed anything, but I was like, I really want to help people, make games and be successful. This whole new indie thing is growing. So I started attending a lot of events like the Seattle Indies Expo. That was another one. I went to Indiecade, going to like the PAX Mega booth, and then just making sure I started, again, connecting with people and making sure people knew that this is something that I had a lot of interest in and had a passion in. And that led to just career opportunities opening up. And next thing you know, I'm here at Meta. So Honestly, your best bet's going to be connect with people right now. Don't wait. Don't say, you know what, I'll talk to somebody tomorrow. Just say, hey, you know what, can I talk to you about how video games work? Oh, I really like you to hear with this art or this music or your marketing. Talk to somebody right now. It'll be the best way for you to actually get your path started.
You know what I love about both of your stories is that you both were just curious and you just kept kind of following your path, which I think is a testament for all of us, right? Like you think that you're going to structure your life, right, and plan out every moment, but then you kind of just have to keep going and, you know, see where it takes you. So I love that. The other thing I just wanted to inject for folks in the audience is that, you know, a lot of the products that we're making today, they're not things that that are inaccessible. We're trying to create products that people want to use every single day to enhance and better their lives, right? Enhance their communications and their connections. So we need like real people building these products. We need a diverse set of eyes and ears designing and building these products. And so hopefully you guys are getting to see another side of this crew because they are just real people building these products. I want to slide over and give the microphone over to Kanti for a second. Kanti, can you talk to us a little bit about a story where maybe you had imposter syndrome in a specific case, maybe how you didn't quite feel that you fit or belonged, and yet you found yourself there anyway?
Sure. So this goes back to when I was in business school and we had to go through our internships. I wanted to do, prior to business school, I was in software engineering. I wanted to always shift into brand management. But I realized that most of the companies in the US would actually not be open to internationals in the brand management sector. So someone told me, hey, you should try product management. So I'm like, all right, I need a job. So I applied. I got into Microsoft. And day one, and I go in there and I'm just like, new country. I have no idea what product management is. I have never met a product manager before, but even though I was in software engineering, I'd never worked with product managers. The only product managers I knew are the ones who interviewed me. And it was definitely, that time was so scary because I felt that there was this guilt almost where I felt like, oh my goodness, they expect me to know a lot of things. They expect me to like change the world. And what do I know? So the two things that which I've always like believed in is read. So I would go and like Google and like read up about everything that product managers have written in blogs. Like that was my like intake into product management. And then I was actually nervous to talk to people who are already product managers at Microsoft because I thought, you know, they would think less of me. So I actually reached out to friends of mine who are in other companies like Amazon and tried to like talk to product managers there. And what I realized was soon that it is not about just creating a strategy one fine day and launching it. End of the day, it's all about the people around you and bringing people along and asking the right questions to ensure that everyone is thinking around the right path. And that was almost like a moment where I realized I can do that. I have creative, thinking skills. I have problem solving skills. And if I just ask the room the right questions, a lot of people probably have the same questions and help them hone the path to ensure that we're doing the right thing for the customer. That's pretty much what product management is. So it was almost like a turning point for me because it made me realize it's not about just me building my own like strategy or me coming up with a brainwave. It's about bringing people along. It's about asking the right questions. It's about letting people realize what they are trying to build and why they're building it. And it's been a fantastic journey for me since.
I love that. I love working with each and every one of you. You guys all inspire me in your stories. Marcelo, before we move to the live questions, I wanted to give you an opportunity here. Can you, we're trying to like really get real here. So give us something where you've had maybe a big hang up that has prevented you from achieving the success that you so desired, and then talk to us about how you overcame it. You want to share a story?
Yeah. I'm going to put myself in the shoes of perhaps some of the audience that's listening in on this, and you're hearing things like holograms and mixed reality and all this technology, and you're like, wow, like, who am I to even think that I could do this? So maybe this is an imposter syndrome, but I'll be honest with you, I have this, even today, like, it's like, holy cow, like, I don't even understand what folks are talking about. Here's the thing. I think there are two things that help me get over that. One is if you're genuinely curious, allow yourself to be curious, allow yourself to try to understand and engage, no matter how sophisticated something may seem, because the stuff that you're wondering about is probably the same stuff that many other people are wondering about, right? So allow yourself to ask I'll get to the ask the question in a moment. Allow yourself to think about that, and just know that you're not the only person thinking about that. Which leads me to my second thing. And I wasn't good at this early on, right? And I think I've gotten better at it. Ask the question. There is no dumb question. Please ask the question. I guarantee you that the question you ask about a hologram or some technology or why you're doing this, I guarantee you there are many other people who have the same question, and you're doing not only yourself a favor, you're doing them a favor. So allow yourself to be curious, to wonder and think about these things. It's totally within your capacity to understand this, and ask the question. Don't be shy. Ask the question and get those answers. Those are the things that I've learned. I think some personalities skew better to that than others. I probably am on the other end of the spectrum where I'm a little bit more shy, but it's something I've been trying to get over. I think I've kind of gotten over it, but it doesn't come naturally to me. And I encourage you to be intentional about being curious and asking questions.
I'd almost go so far as to say that that's a requirement when you're working in reality labs.
Yes.
We have no idea which of these technologies is going to really take off and resonate, right? We don't know. So we have to be questioning. None of us really know the perfect answer for anything that we're working on. And so we're curious, and we just keep trudging through and building technology that people love. Okay, so folks, let's pivot over and get some live Q&A. So anybody on the call, your question might get asked here. So let's see. Richard, I think you can probably handle this one for us. So we have a question. How might VR designers get their environments onto the metaverse? And are there any APIs or tools for making designing more accessible?
Yeah, so I'm gonna kind of focus on accessibility first, and then go back to the original one. Yes, there's actually, if you go to your favorite search engine and type in Oculus VRCs, virtual reality checks, and then type in accessibility, you'll actually find that we've already thought about this in terms of ways to make your applications more accessible. And there's actually small things, right? Like, here's a great example of just not even necessarily related to VR, but just like how you can consider accessibility in your design, right? I have a friend, we play games together, and for the longest time, I just knew that they're really good at the game, at recognizing some characters. Little I know that we've talked for ages, I didn't know they were colorblind and couldn't tell the difference between certain characters, and just memorized the patterns of a particular part. And I was like, wow, you're playing this on extra hard mode because somebody did not expect that there is a colorblind person going to play this part. So that's something you have to think about when you're creating new realities, especially in virtual reality, right? Like, is that accessible? Do people know what they're doing? Can people get direction on what they're doing? And so when you're building environments, think about the things that happen in real life and magnify that, right? So if you're trying to walk into a grocery store, is it accessible by somebody who needs extra help? If it's not, maybe you should consider when you make a grocery store in your game that is actually accessible for somebody, right? you should consider other things like, okay, this person doesn't necessarily play a ton of video games. What's a great way to give them a clue? So go watch a play. You'll notice that plays will just shine lights on things to make sure people know to go, oh, there's a character talking. I should go look in that direction. So you think about ways to make games accessible. That can be visually, audio, it could be how that actually is being played. And how do you get your environments into the metaverse? I would say the first thing you want to do is really just start making something. So I'm not exactly sure what engine you're using, but like I would say honestly, like using any one of the really popular ones like Unity or Unreal is a great place to just start making something. There's a ton of great tutorials. We even have a tutorial on how to make an escape room. And so once you go from there, figure out a way to make that escape room more accessible. I would love to see it. So please, go explore documents or guides. We have a lot of like tools on how to actually get you set up for success in making something on the metaverse right now.
Yeah, and in that same line, I just, for anybody on the call that's maybe early in their like engineering and product development career, we have a product called Spark. So if you go look it up, it's a really great community where you can make those. Kanti showed some masks on Portal that you see like that kind of dance around somebody's head. Effects on Instagram. So maybe if you're more of an artist, go check out Spark because our creator community is really fantastic and really vibrant. It's a really great kind of intro way into this technology. I want to honor everyone's time and we're kind of coming down to it. I'll take a quick one real quick that says, Meta seems it's very similar to Microsoft's HoloLens. So a lot of the stuff that we're doing in AR, VR, very similar to HoloLens. Using what Microsoft deems as mixed reality, AR and VR, how would Meta differ? I'm happy to take this one. Or Marcelo, do you feel comfortable taking this one? I'm
happy to take it, and you can jump in as well. I think it's a great question, and I think it kind of gets to something Mark Zuckerberg said recently, in that there's like nobody owns the metaverse. The metaverse is a thing that's out there, and we all contribute to it. We think it's awesome, and it's really a great thing, and we want to help make it happen. But Meta is not the only entity or company out there. There will be lots of companies, lots of developers, lots of creators, and I expect a lot of people who are listening in today will help create the metaverse. So it's not just one entity or one company. It's lots and lots and lots of people and businesses and participants.
Yeah, and I think that was a perfect answer, Marcelo. The only thing I think I'd tack on to there is I think a lot of the imagery that you have all seen from us, or maybe in the media, places it all in virtual reality. When we think about the metaverse, we actually think about it, very much outside of a virtual world. So I could be sitting here in this coffee cup that I'm drinking coffee out of this morning could be, an augmented reality object. So I'm in my actual physical world, but this could be actually a virtual object, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to be something real. So think of it like overlaid onto my world. We've also, talked a lot about bringing the metaverse more into the mobile state. So this is more like a 2D environment where you could have apps, similar to things like Minecraft or whatnot, right? Where you could actually play or look at objects kind of overlaid into the metaverse there. But to Marcelo's point, I think the point is that Meta doesn't own the metaverse. The metaverse is more like a layer on top of our world that you can then interact with both physical and virtual objects together. So I just wanted to tack that on. I think, Nash, you said that we could take another 5 minutes, it says. It seems like we're okay.
Sure.
Is that cool? Okay, so I'm gonna throw this one over to Kanti. Can you speak to the importance of not being afraid to pivot and rebrand yourself, especially in an industry where things change almost daily?
Yeah, this is so fascinating because I think that's what makes tech such a great place to work in. I think one of the main aspects of technology is that things are constantly changing. And if you choose to stay with what has been successful for you all along, that's going to get stale over time. And you need to figure out how you can keep moving forward. It's almost a responsibility that technology owes to the world for us to be able to keep moving the world forward. I'll give you an example. When I joined Portal, this was a little while ago. I know the biggest example we have is Meta changing, but I want to give like a really small one for you to be able to understand. Portal was considered, yes, it's a calling device, but it's a smart home device. And everyone out there does smart home devices. So we had to try and figure out what makes us unique. And that's when COVID hit. And it was so important for us to realize that, hey, what makes us unique is the fact that we're all about calling and connection. And that needs to be our core value prop. And that was a pivot for us that we made as a team. And today, in a much grander scheme, you see Facebook pivoting to Meta because it's very evident that, yes, of course, social connections will continue in 2D, but what makes true connection come to life? It is the immersive nature of it. And nothing can beat that other than being able to move forward to the metaverse and being able to bring that to life. So if you think of Facebook's or Meta's core value prop of connection, this is in the right path. I wouldn't call it essentially a massive pivot so much as a true evolution to be able to bring us to achieve our dreams.
Yeah, it's almost a metaphor for life. Like we're all evolving every day. And so the company's evolving right along with it. Okay, one last question, and then I think we'll close it down. Although I do love this, and I hope that the Bean Path folks choose to bring us back. We would love to come and party on with your community. Lisa, I'm going to toss this one over to you. You get the last say here. So we had a live question come in that says, how or when can we use this technology for providing a high quality online education, especially in the engineering fields? Do you feel comfortable tackling that one?
Oh, I love that. My answer is actually less to do with my daily job and just more to do with the possibility of the technology. So I think it could be used today. In terms for college students in particular, like I just think about so visualization, whether it's visualizing math concepts or how to understanding scientific principles, the structures of things, like this idea, the ability that you could take things that are huge or very tiny and put them at a size and a scale that people can interact with. Makes things so much more accessible to people who learn differently. And so being able to visualize, I think, is huge. I also think we've seen, so it's Stanford University has been doing some cool stuff with training doctors, so people in high pressure situations to be able to do a walkthrough or be able to do something with virtual reality and experience it in an environment where people don't die. Or then also augmented reality can be used to help people get guidance from folks who aren't necessarily in the same room with them. So those are two areas that I've seen. But then I think it's interesting to think about how we think and how we learn and what the different ways that spatialized information can change that. So anything from memory palaces is a way that we remember things. Can I build my own memory palace? What would that look like? Could I visit it? Yeah, will that strengthen my memory palace that I could have in the real world then? Those are some of the types of questions and things that I am so excited to see researchers, as well as the teams that I work with inside of Reality Labs, as well as academics tackling. So app developers, I know that there haven't been that many. There's some educational stuff out there, but I do think that for a professor at a university, I would encourage you to think about ways that you could use these types of tech, because it's pretty cool to think about how it could change the way we allow people to access information.
I love it. Yeah, it truly is. The possibilities are endless. You know, just ending on a personal note there from what Lisa was saying, I saw this year as COVID hit and I brought my own kids home to learn. I got to watch them go from tech noobs all the way to, like, dare I say that they're competing with mom. I won't go there yet, but they're getting pretty darn close, I would say. So I got to watch kind of these immersive environments. I got to watch their educational tools go up pretty dramatically. And like the possibilities are endless, I think, especially when you step into a virtual and augmented reality world. Hey, folks, I want to give a couple of thank yous. I just want to say thank you to everybody behind the scenes. Jen, Nash, Ivan, Amber, Whitney, all of you folks that have helped us get Vic, all of you folks that have helped us get everything off the ground here. Super special thank you to our panelists today who took their time on a Saturday to come out and share their stories. I appreciate you all so very much. And then to the community and everybody on the call. One of our goals here is to connect more with communities that are outside of the West Coast in the United States, right? Like, so we want to take this technology and make it accessible everywhere. We believe very much in building a diverse environment of people and technologies so that we can be more accessible to all people on the planet. We don't really have one demographic at Meta. It really is the entire planet. So thank you for listening to us. We are looking forward to doing many of these in the future, and we appreciate all of you. Take care, everybody. Have a good rest of the Saturday. Bye.